Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our men's advanced Bible study, the 14th of August, 2026. Okay. Our main topic for today will be uh, it's time to tell the truth. We'll be dealing with the Schofield Bible and what it represented. Okay. We're going to go into that, break it down. Okay. You can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, get the meat out. These videos will lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. Okay. Um, this is our main channel. We also have a women's line, which is every Thursday night. We have our women's advanced Bible study. So you come across that and you interested, call 337-802-0889, and we can link you up with it when you come into the class and get engaged. Okay. So with that being said, for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Okay. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and this is from Genesis to Malachi. We don't deal with the New Testament with the four Gospels and all that. That's of a Gentile persuasion. Okay. And then the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior, our Redeemer, and our Deliverer, the Lord of Hosts. Okay. This channel was created to aid and assist all Hebrews who are waking up in these last days, understanding who their true identity is, and also understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our men's advanced Bible study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, a prayer, psalms. We have some current events, need to know information, got a little dialogue. And like I said earlier, our topic for discussion is we'll be dealing with exposing the Schofield Bible and the reason why it was brought into existence. Okay. And then our scripture reading will be dealing with a video which is tied to the countries in Africa and their names before colonization. Okay. Then we'll pick a scripture, break that scripture down, and then we'll open up our Q&A, and then we'll close out. Okay. This moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. Oh Lord, I pray unto the Lord my God. We make our confessions, oh Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping covenant and mercy to them that love thee and to them that keep thy commandments. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us a confusion of face, as it is this day, to the men of Judah and unto the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries where thou hast driven us, because of our trespass that we have trespassed against thee. Okay, as it is written in the laws of Moses, all this evil is come upon us in the land of our captivity, here in the Americas, Caribbean, Great Britain, Africa, okay, and abroad. O Lord, according to all thy righteousness, I beseech thee, let thine anger and thy fury be turned away from thy city Jerusalem and thy people, okay, in your holy mountain. O Lord, hear this prayer and cause thy face to shine upon thy sanctuary and thy people and your land for your sake. O Lord, open thine eyes and incline thine ears to hear and behold our condition. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hearken and do and defer not for thy own sake, for your people. They need you so very much at this time, desperately. Peace be unto you. Okay, we'll read a song right quick.
Shalom. Yes, sir, Brother Leonard. I'm going to read Psalms 144, a mighty fortress, a psalm of David. And it says,
Okay.
yes, sir. And it says, blessed be the Lord, my strength, which teacheth my hands to war and my fingers to fight, my goodness and my fortress, my high tower and my deliverer, my shield, and he in whom I trust, who subdueth my people under me. Lord, what is man that thou takest knowledge of him, or the Son of Man that thou makest account of him? Man is like to vanity, his days are as a shadow that passeth away. Bow thy heavens, O Lord, and come down. Touch the mountains, and they shall smoke. Cast forth lightning, and scatter them. Shoot out thine arrows, and destroy them. Send thine hand from above. Rid me, and deliver me out of the great waters, from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. I will sing a new song unto thee, O God, upon the psaltery and the instrument of 10 strings will I sing praises unto thee. It is he that giveth salvation unto kings, who delivereth David his servant from the hurtful sword. Rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood, that our sons may be as plants grown up in their youth, that our daughters may be as cornerstones, polished after the similitude of a palace, that our garners may be full, affording all manner of store, that our sheep may bring forth thousands and 10,000s in our streets, that our oxen may be strong to labor, and there be no breaking in nor going out, that there be no complaining in our streets. Happy is that people that is in such a case. Yea, happy is that people whose God is the Lord. And shalom. That was Psalms 145. Excuse me, Psalms 144. A mighty fortress, Psalm of David.
Okay, you got a thing on that?
Shalom, brother Leonard. Yes, sir. When he says, well, just starting off in verses 1 and 2, you could tell David talking about the Lord of hosts. Sir, when he says, "Blessed be the Lord, my strength." We know Michael is the mighty El, which teach,
Right,
yes, sir, which teacheth, excuse me, my hands to war. You know, and I learned Michael is the Lord of hosts.
right,
Yes, sir.
exactly. Okay, yeah. So with that being said, we're gonna go into our current events, right? We're gonna do like we normally do. We play the video, the information, then we come back and write, revise it, dissect it. Okay.
10 countries, 4 more watching very closely, and 1 mosque compound. And a warning that hasn't been issued this bluntly in years. In Amman, the foreign ministers of the Arab world sat across the table from their counterparts from Turkey, Pakistan, Indonesia, and Malaysia. And they did not just talk, they built something, a mechanism, a platform, a paper trail designed to follow Israel's every move in East Jerusalem and put it on the world's screen, whether the world wants to look or not. It might seem like Muslim nations are uniting to take down Netanyahu, but the real story is quieter, more procedural, and if you know how these things work, potentially more dangerous. Because when diplomats start using the words religious conflict and explosion in the same sentence, you must pay attention. Hello and welcome. I am Nikita Kapoor, and you are watching Decoded. And in this episode, viewers, we decode a new showdown: the Arab world, the Muslim nations versus Israel. Jordan's capital hosted what is officially called the ministerial meeting in support of Jerusalem and its holy sites. 10 countries in the room as core members of a committee the Arab League actually set up back in 2017. Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Tunisia, Algeria, Somalia, Iraq, Palestine, and Morocco. That is the standing body. But this time, 4 more chairs got pulled up. Turkey, Pakistan, Indonesia, and Malaysia. That is roughly half the Muslim majority world's population represented in one room. And it tells you that Jordan wanted numbers, not just Arab consensus. And the man who convened it, Jordanian Foreign Minister Eman Safadi. He did not ease into it. He said Israel was violating the sanctity of the holy sites and restricting freedom of worship. He accused Israel of deliberately and systematically undermining the role of the Jordanian Aqab, that is the Islamic trust that is administered with Al-Aqsa for decades. Now, what came out the other end was a joint declaration, not a statement of concern, a mechanism. Two things specifically, viewers. Number one, a permanent system to document and expose Israeli violations in East Jerusalem and its Islamic and Christian holy sites. Number two, a dedicated media platform to push that documentation straight to international organization and the global public.
Okay.
So diplomats speak, and it means that they are building an evidence bank, sort of. Here is where it gets serious because foreign ministries don't reach for this language unless they mean it. The ministers warned that Israeli attacks against Islamic holy sites in East Jerusalem could inflame the sentiments of around 2 billion Muslims worldwide and fuel a religious conflict with consequences reaching well beyond the region. 2 billion. That is not a regional dispute anymore when you frame it that way. Jordan's Safadi went further in the room, warning that Al-Aqsa's violations are pushing the region toward the explosion of a religious conflict. And that such a danger, once it materializes, cannot be contained, he said. So what specifically has them this alarmed? Well, the declaration lists it out, and it reads like a slow motion annexation file. Settlement building, land confiscation, squeezing Jerusalem residents out, severing East Jerusalem from the rest of the occupied West Bank, brick by administrative brick. And at Al-Aqsa itself, a 144 dwelling compound that, under the declaration's own terms, is an exclusive Muslim place of worship. A rising tide of settler incursions and what Amman calls interference in the Jerusalem body, the authority that manages. There is a status quo at Al-Aqsa that has held roughly since 1967. And there is Pakistan. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar told the room that with a Gaza ceasefire holding and international peace efforts underway, this is actually a window, a chance to convert momentum into something real, but only if the Muslim world moves in coordinated fashion. Ishaq Dar did not stop at the podium either, he continued. Then Turkey's Hakan Fidan, Indonesia, Malaysia, all present, all signed on. That is the geographic spread that turns an Arab League committee meeting into something that reads more like a Muslim World Coalition statement against Israel. But let's...
Okay, what you think? You heard about that?
Shalom. Not all of those countries going against Israel. No, sir. I haven't heard.
It started with 3. First of the week, it started with 3. Now
Right.
it expanded. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't say, yeah, I just heard about, what was that, Saudi and Pakistan and Jordan?
Turkey.
Oh, and Turkey was the first 3.
Yeah, now it expanded. Yeah, it's pretty much the whole Arab world coming together. Yeah, it ain't looking good. They're setting it up. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, clock ticking. Okay, so with that being said, let me get this here. Okay.
The USS Abraham Lincoln is facing a growing mental health crisis as roughly 5,000 sailors and Marines endure an extraordinary deployment with no clear end in sight. Multiple news outlets reported incidents in which sailors were stopped from going overboard, while families warned that exhaustion, isolation, and worsening morale are pushing some crew members toward the breaking point. The carrier has been deployed since November 21 and has spent about 250 consecutive days at sea supporting US operations against Iran after being redirected from its planned Pacific mission. Its deployment, originally expected to end in May, has been extended without a publicly announced return date. At a San Diego town hall, attended by roughly 200 family members, relatives confronted Acting Navy Secretary Hung Hao and other senior leaders over the toll on their loved ones. One spouse purportedly said her husband had texted that he hoped he would not wake up the next day. Another family member accused Navy leadership of having broken trust with them. Annabelle Loma told Navy Times that her husband attempted to jump overboard after repeatedly having his deployment extended. In another incident, a sailor on watch reportedly grabbed a shipmate who was preparing to go over the side and pulled them back onto the deck. Stars and Stripes separately reported another case in which watchstanders stopped a crew member from jumping. Families and sailors have also described food and water shortages, disrupted mail, long workdays, and prolonged periods without port visits. Earlier reports highlighted rationed food, mold, laundry problems, and shortages of basic supplies. The Navy says that many of those logistical problems have been improved. Turkey suspended its C-130 cargo plane flights after one crashed in Georgia while returning from Azerbaijan, killing all 20 people aboard. Turkish F-16s have also gone down in years past. In December 2016, an F-16 crashed while landing at a military base in Diyarbakir after a training flight, with the pilot ejecting safely. And in May 2013, a Turkish F-16 crashed near the Syria border in Osmaniye province after losing contact with base command, with conflicting early reports on whether the pilot ejected safely. Turkish authorities have not yet released a cause for the fighter jet crash. To Times of India videos. We decode the shifting grains of geopolitics to you. From Washington to Wuhan. Take the future. No jog-bot, and that's what we do best. At Times of India, it's fast.
Yeah, okay. So you heard anything about that? The what's going on with the aircraft carrier?
No, sir. But I heard about that first part of it, brother Leonard, with the Navy at sea with the low supplies.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
That's the thing. The
yes, sir.
crazy
Yeah,
thing
that's
about that, where's these leaks coming from? Because
right,
that's leaks, military leaks. Where that's coming from? That's crazy.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got some
But
neat know right here.
I'm sorry, brother
Go ahead.
Leonard. Those Turkish, what's going on there with those aircrafts? when it
Oh,
mentioned the
there was some kind of deal that the United States, Trump in particular, made with them is what Israel had a problem with, saying that by them making deals like that with these aircraft, is defeating. It's actually siding with the enemies.
right. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So it's all kind of drama going on between um, U.S. and America, and at the same time, they want us to believe that uh, they so chummy together that they bringing their militaries together. But it's some definitely a Ponzi scheme or something going on.
Mm,
Okay,
sure.
so here we go. Some need to know information. Okay.
Movement is planning for the very first time.
Check this out.
A global religious movement is planning for the very first time an international congress in Jerusalem. And most Christians have never even heard of it.
Check it out.
On the surface, as you'll see, it sounds beautiful. It sounds peaceful. It sounds like a wonderful plan to unite the nations under God. But there's one massive question that every Christian needs to ask. What happens when the world is invited into a religion that talks about God, but completely rejects the Son of God altogether? Where will you stand? So hit that like button. Let's get this out there to as many people as we can so they're aware about what's about to happen in Jerusalem in November. And as always, let me know what you think in the comments. So this became more than some old rabbinic idea. It became a modern outreach idea, a framework for you and me, if you're a Gentile, a way to talk about the world peace and about global morality, a way to talk about nations serving God without becoming Jewish. And like I said, it all sounds peaceful. But where's Jesus? I mean, where's the framework where Jesus can be confessed as Lord? Can we accept the definition of God that rejects Jesus as the Son of God? I mean, should we embrace this? That is where discernment is needed, in the center of this whole thing. Okay, so I want to bring this right to America because this is not about left versus right. This isn't about Republican versus Democrat. This isn't me telling you which party to support, because both sides can use religious language and values, if you haven't noticed, and appeal to God, but when it benefits them. Christians are not called to be politically hypnotized, my friends. We're called to test everything. And I want to share with you this proclamation 4921, National Day of Reflection, all right, where it talks about this rabbi and the 7 Noahic laws. In 1982, President Ronald Reagan, he issued a national day for this rabbi, Menachem Shneversoon, okay? He's describing the 7 Noahide laws as a moral code for all of us, regardless of a religious faith. And this is this isn't some legal language, but it's significant that the language entered in official American recognition. It's all here. The Reeve's work stands as a reminder that knowledge is an unworthy goal unless it's accompanied by moral and spiritual wisdom and understanding. He has provided a vivid example of the eternal validity of the 7 Noahide laws, a moral code for all of us, regardless of a religious faith. May he go from strength to strength. This was in 1982, signed by Ronald Reagan. Okay, but it didn't stop there. There's more. Okay, we got Public Law 10214, entered on March 20th, 1991, as Education Day. Okay, whereas Congress recognizes the historical tradition of ethical values and principles, which are the basis of civilized society and upon which our nation was founded. Whereas these ethical values and principles have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, when they were known as the 7 Noahide laws. I'm not trying to overstate this, but I have to ask you, why are American founding values being described through a Noahide framework instead of through Christ? You thought about that? And even more importantly, why are so many Christians satisfied when leaders speak vaguely? I wonder about this. Like, why these leaders speak vaguely about God, but they rarely actually talk about Jesus. They don't really talk about Jesus. They talk about God a lot. The danger in the church is it's not only outside the danger is not just outside the church,
Sometimes the danger is that the church becomes comfortable with a Christless religion. I mean, that's why we talk about Jesus all the time in this channel. There can be no mistake. Jesus Christ is Lord. He is the King. You can say God all day long, but I'm going to ask you, what God are you talking about? And this brings us to the part that many hit close to home for a lot of Christians, what's called Christian Zionism. And I want to be careful here. Praying for Israel is biblical, so don't hear me wrong. Loving Jewish people is biblical. Recognizing that Jesus is Jewish is biblical. Understanding that God has not forgotten his promised people is biblical. But at the same time, hating Jews and calling them wicked and all that and anti-Semitism, that's evil. So that's not what this is. But there is a version of what's called Christian Zionism that can become spiritually dangerous when it becomes so politically attached to Israel that it stops asking whether Christ is actually being proclaimed. Because supporting Israel politically is not the same thing as confessing Jesus biblically. And blessing Jewish people is not the same thing as accepting a religious framework that denies the Son of God. Christians need to be mature enough to hold both truths. We can love the Jewish people without denying Jesus. We can pray for Israel without trying to replace the gospel. We can reject anti-Semitism without surrendering Christian doctrine. And we can honor the roots of our faith without being absorbed into the Christless religious system that we see everywhere today. But the moment any movement says, let's unite around God, let's not talk about Jesus, Christians have to say, that is not the God of the New Testament. Religious and beautiful. But if it removes Jesus, it is not from God. And this brings us to Satanism. Satanism is not ultimately about red costumes and pitchforks. Biblically, Satanism, its original rebellion, was the rejection of God's authority. It was pride. It was self-exaltation. It was wanting the throne without submission to God. So the most satanic thing in the world is not always obvious occultism. Sometimes the most satanic thing.
So, like, I want to inject right here. So, but this is crazy, and it makes more and more sense now. The closer we get to the end, now he's saying that reject God's throne. They already rejected God's throne. They did all that at the Council of Nicaea when they put JC in place. They cast that. That's what Psalms 89 talking about. They cast off the Most High when the Romans got got a hold of our laws and our statutes. They cast us off 2,000 years ago. He can cause the wrong bus. Okay, they got rid of the Most High's Redeemer. They got rid of his Messiah. All that was, it's not about now. It's happening. This shit happened 2,000 years ago.
This religious system that says, we believe in God, but not his son. We want peace, but we don't want the Prince of Peace. We want global unity, but not the lordship of Jesus Christ. That is the danger. Because Satan does not need to convince a generation.
And so
reimagine your dining room this fall.
That's where it becomes so delusional. Christian supposed to be so apt and so informed. How is you keep on bringing up JC and disregarding the Most High order that he had in place from the very beginning? He more worried about the JC than Yahweh. You see that?
All right, yes, sir.
That's how. And the reason I'm saying this is, well, we're getting ready to go with the Schofield Bible. It's everything we're looking at now. It ain't been that long imposed on us. I was talking about this the other day about Christian nationalists.
Never with fear. Never with hatred. Do not get paranoid and do not get anti-Semitic about this. No, we keep it simple and continue to live how we're called to live, with the truth, with love, with Jesus, and prayer and discernment by drawing near to God.
So okay, you want to watch that? Watch that. It's like 9-10 minutes. It's the Jewish movement. It's preparing for peace. So this is. I've been talking about these Noahide laws, all this stuff coming in November. So when you look at that, I mean, it's so this whole thing about the Noahide laws. If you go back to a handmaiden, it's so laced in that story. In that, you see it.
All right. Yes, sir. And the testaments too.
Right? Yeah. It's all twisted up in there. But another thing, all the information that since we've been awakened, we've been searching out and coming across. So now you see the reason for the guillotines, okay, and all the stuff we've been talking about. How those Charles over there up in Georgia. Uh, okay, all this stuff. What Pastor Manny talking about now? It's all making a whole lot of sense. So you can imagine what they're gonna have to do with these Christians. Like the guy said, they keep indirectly, which they're doing it intentionally. They're not dealing with JC because these Edomites already know where JC came from, and they're at the point now where they finna do away with him like they did Michael and David, and they got hotel scriptures. They're gonna do away with JC, and when it happens, a lot of people got to go. You're talking about a revolt here in America. That's gonna be a serious revolt because it ain't like they're gonna wake up and say, "Oh, he ain't the son of God." They're not gonna see that. And so when all the stuff that's been talked about, that we've been talking about, you can see it coming in place. Like I said, what other reason would they need guillotines for? And these they had 5 to 10 million body bags, underwater body bags, and all this stuff. Now all this stuff coming into play. You can see where it's coming from now. Even with what's going on with the Muslim world, how we just talked, we see how the whole Muslim world coming together. You know what I'm saying? It's not. This gonna get seriously ugly. Okay.
Sir.
Yeah. So with that being said, like I said, he keep on bringing up how can you deal with how you gonna deal with heaven without dealing with JC like they did before he came, before they stuck him in the scriptures. Heaven wasn't dealing with no JC. He don't even have that's not even Hebrew. That ain't even a Hebrew name. So yeah, it's crazy. So all that's happening is the Lord of Hosts is bringing the world back to where it's supposed to be at, and they in total denial and totally disillusioned. Okay, got any feedback on that?
Well, in Shalom, Brother Leonard, you see him grasping for straws. To the point you just said with that. Cause even with the religion, all that kind of stuff. That's why they got the AI on the social media, and all these flock cameras and everything, trying
Right,
to control, because they losing control, so they trying to
right.
get more control.
Oh yeah, well they already know they're gonna lose control when they're trying to get out that they ain't about JC, and then the powers that be ain't dealing with it, ain't gonna deal with him, and then and people that's behind it, same people that's behind Gaza. What they looking at, the reason why the U.S. in an uproar behind Israel is the same people that's behind these Noahide laws and behind uh, getting rid of JC.
Right.
So that's gonna be a double whammy, man, when it all come out. Oh yeah.
And Brother Leonard, didn't that video mention something about Reagan having something to do with him back in '82?
Right. Yeah, like I was saying, when like with they want to say from a biblical perspective, like I said, they trying to duplicate what happened to us and our forefathers, but they want to make it look like they want to go to Isaiah 66 when I'm always going there when it says that a nation shall be born at once in a day, and they saying that's what happened in 1948 when Israel came back. But what you just looking at right here, it was a long process. It's just that it all of a sudden became the end result showed up. It looked like it was done in a day, but we can go back and see how, like I said, they were laying out of Jerusalem They ran over to Portugal and Spain. A million independent of Santa Maria was sent out, and it ended up over here, the 13 colonies. And then we're going to see in a minute Britain role in all this. It ain't just an accident that Britain did what it did. So then from there, they in the World War I, they end up making some kind of deal under the table with Britain, and then after World War II, they came in land. So it wasn't no nation born at night or in a day. It was a long process, just like this. That's how we see these Noahide laws, and all of a sudden they finna come. They finna hit the world in Jerusalem in November. But we can see way back Reagan was setting it up. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It ain't just start happening. It just been when you dig in and you do the right research, you're gonna see how they've been setting this whole thing up the whole time. Okay, like I said, with the way back in the 2000, we was talking about these body bags and guillotines and all this stuff that was being moved around on these trains, and then all of a sudden it just went off the scene, and now we see what they were doing. Because we see what's going to happen, right? Then they put it right in our face on these movies, okay? But with that being said, okay, let me play this right here. Yeah, here we go. Okay.
Destroying millions of rare out-of-print books to feed
Check this out.
destroying physical books. They're destroying millions of rare out-of-print books to feed their chatbots.
See that? So this ain't nothing new under the sun. What they did back when they got rid of when they brought JC on the scene, Council Nasia and all that, they're doing it again now with AI.
This is not just a news story. This is an appeal. They ever stop destroying physical books. They're destroying millions of rare out-of-print books to feed their chatbots. This is not just a news story. This is an appeal. The ever-starving...
They don't want you to go find on your own. They want you to go to the chat box and get it. Ain't that something?
Ever-hungry AI companies are destroying copy after copy of physical books. We have just one question. What in the Fahrenheit 451 is going on? Now, there are images in the news cycle that disappear as quickly as they arrive. Don't let these be one of them. Look at this. A book being sent to the guillotine. What you are seeing is a hydraulic cutter slicing the spine of a book. The spine, the one thing that held those pages together through years of reading, being cracked. Years of lending, moving homes. What is left is just loose sheets waiting to be sent to an industrial scanner. Something precious has just been destroyed. This is not for recycling. This is to facilitate regurgitation, to feed to AI chatbots that will process these pages in seconds and spew out AI slop. Welcome to the AI age. AI companies know how precious these books are, and so, in true corporate fashion, they wish to extract every sentence, digitize and then fed into an artificial intelligence model. And what happens after these books are sliced and scanned? Once the ideas have been copied, they are discarded. And guess what? This has been happening for a while, but we are only just finding.
So ain't that something? They ain't just got guillotines for us. They got guillotines for the books.
Out now. Let me explain. Let's zoom out a little. In a landmark ruling, a US federal judge held that AI companies can legally buy physical books. They can digitize them and use them to train large language models. They call the process transformative and therefore protected under fair use. Now, book fair use, it's a rule that allows for people to use small excerpts of copyrighted books for the purpose of teaching, research, or criticism. So the tech bros saw that as a legal roadmap. Bulk buy, bulk scan, bulk feed AI, and then discard. The ruling, however, does not excuse piracy. And here's why this is an important detail. Because Anthropic had already come under fire for allegedly downloading millions of pirated books before later replacing many of them with legally purchased copies.
The company was ultimately forced into paying $1.5 billion settlement with authors over those piracy claims. But we would argue that this ruling still leaves much to be desired. We're not just talking about copyright. This is bigger than that. It is about culture. And here's why you should care. Actually, here's why you should be upset. How do we value knowledge today? Nearly every great civilization left libraries, but knowledge survives only if every generation decides it is worth preserving. A library is not just storage. Reading a book is a conversation. Conversation with people you've never met, lives you've never lived, and places you've never traveled. What is happening when you open a book? 1984, you are engaging with Orwell, Premchand, Dostoevsky, Virginia Woolf. They paint you a picture. Sometimes you love it, sometimes you push back, sometimes you cry on those pages, and one day you might lend that copy. And then someone will see what you wrote in the margins. So
what you take on that? What you think?
Well, Shalom Berlin, that goes along with them turning down the system, and they've been doing it with the education anyway. So they don't want the history that's available. They want to teach whatever they're gonna teach with the know-how thing. So this they were getting rid of what's it called, like the critical race theory and all that kind of stuff, as well as other history in America. They just it goes along with Project 2025.
Right. Yeah. And we as Hebrews, we digging, right?
Right, sure.
So we digging, we scoffing up any kind of book. They got any kind of information that's gonna enlighten us, and so they trying to get ahead of the game because we scuffing up so much stuff.
Sure.
Okay, like that song.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So with that being said, we'll go to my topic for discussion. You know anything about? What's your take on Schofield Bible? You know anything about it? You ever heard of it?
I heard of it the other day in your translation. I think I got something of it. But I've definitely heard or seen that name in one of the books though. I don't know who he is though, Brother Leonard.
Okay, yeah, right. So like I was saying earlier, we didn't get to where we at on accident. Where we at today, these people want you to think that, like I said, 1948 was some kind of prophecy, but centuries they working on that. Matter of fact, you go all the way back to Malachi. When the Lord of hosts told them he's gonna kick them out, and they told him, yeah, you're gonna kick us out, but we're gonna come back. And they came back. That's how far they go back. So it's the same way with this right here. It's a process. It's a long, lengthy process with these people. Just what they did at the Council of Nicaea is just as worse as what they did with the Schofield Bible. Let's check it out.
What you're saying is the Schofield Bible, its theology is deceptive.
A very wealthy, very charismatic preacher named John Darby came with this doctrine that's now referred to as the secret rapture or the pre-tribulation rapture. And guess who he was connected to, by the way? The Rothschilds.
So the crazy part about this is all this wasn't in there when Constantine did it. This is what I mean by it's a process. Okay, check it out.
The Schofield Bible?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so C.I. Schofield was basically a student of John Darby, and he adopted that part of the doctrine, and he incorporated that into the Bible. It was the first Bible ever made that had study notes with it. It became so popular, every Christian was reading it, every minister was reading it, including me, including my own father. For a long time, that's what we believed too. But when you start actually going back and reading line by line by line what is said that will be leading up to Jesus coming back, which is when the rapture happens, it's the inverse of what John Darby put down.
My sense was the Schofield stuff, which has had massive implications for our foreign policy, for example, and in our domestic politics, was probably a lie. What you're saying is the Schofield Bible, its theology is deceptive.
A very wealthy, very charismatic preacher named John Darby came with this doctrine. It's now referred to as the secret.
So you got anything on that? Yeah, so that was like a little introduction. But this next video gonna go all in on it, and you'll see what I'm saying, what they did, how they did with at the council seal. They didn't painted that like they had rose petals all on the floor and all that, and the light was shining from heaven when all that happened. But it's alive from the pits of hell. Check it out. Here we go. This guy he'll break it down. Like I said, before it's over with, you're gonna have to read them a week, because the Most High is tearing JC down.
That hits the scene in 1907.
Check it out.
And he's a bit of a scoundrel. Like, I don't want to bash a dead person, but he was not what you would call a shining example of what a Christian should be. Right. You know, he
same way with Constantine. But like I say, all you come to find out, all these people do is talk. So they told you, and we didn't go do the research. He told you Constantine wasn't shit. He was garbage, just like Alexander was. And this dude here wasn't shit. But check it out.
Abandoned his family, for example. He's basically
we know that he abandoned his family.
Yeah, his wife and kids.
Gee.
Yeah. So he shows up in New York. From New York, he goes to the UK. He winds up at Oxford, which is the hotbed of
UK, Britain.
Political Zionism. They print and publish a Bible. We call it Schofield's Bible. It's not Schofield's Bible. It never was Schofield's Bible. He never owned the Bible. It's Oxford's Bible. He was the theologian, allegedly.
So break this down, right? So like I said, they told you that Schofield Bible, but everything you read, these Edomites wrote the same exact thing in the Bible, in the New Testament. Everything written and read. JC ain't saying it. These same people here, they the ones saying. They telling you JC saying it. Okay, they imposing what they want on you when they wrote it in red.
Whose notes in the margins of the Bible propagated the theology of John Nelson Darby. And that took off like, wildfire in the United States. And it's because in low church evangelicalism, most clergy at the time, even to this day, are not classically trained.
So I'm gonna have to start, you start hearing me say that low church, okay?
Seminary. Back then, especially before the age of the internet and with the cost of publishing, the typical pastor in a Baptist or Congregationalist congregation would own a Bible, and that would be about it. They didn't go home to prepare their sermon with a collection of commentaries or a Bible concordance or a lexicon. All they had was a Bible. But if they could get their hands on the Schofield's edition, they would have all of the study notes that they could read and learn and educate themselves. And, they were smart enough to know that the margins is not the same as inspired writ, but that became the de facto home education for a lot of clergy. Within a single generation, among low church evangelical Protestantism, dispensationalism became the majority view, because it's a nice handy resource that you read right there in the pages of the Bible. And a lot of uneducated Christians during the era were actually not smart enough, or educated enough, I should say, to discern the difference between the inspired writ that was given by God the Holy Spirit, written through the hands of men inspired by God the Holy Ghost, and the marginal notes in which this effectively schismatic cult in Ireland and then England has their theology on the side of the pages. And so they would look at that, not see the difference, and all of a sudden, well, if you fast forward to today, people believe that that's the view that the church has always held.
So Darby comes up with this, as you said, novel theology, cultish theology, non-traditional Christian theology, but it's disseminated effectively by this guy Schofield, the family abandoner.
Schofield's name's on it.
Yeah. What was his motive? Do we know?
I don't think that Schofield's motive is sinister either. I don't mean to throw him under the bus like he's a bad guy or a villain. I do think it was weird that he didn't think to himself, okay, so I'm a relative nobody. Why are strangers paying to sail me across the ocean to meet with people I don't know at Oxford?
Oh, strangers did pay his way across to do this?
There's nothing in Schofield's life that would suggest that he would have had the funds to pay for that himself. There's a couple things there that don't make a lot of sense, including the club that he was a part of in New York with dues that it would not be reasonable to presume someone of Schofield's lack of employment would be able to afford. So yeah, he goes across the ocean and he meets with high society. It's Oxford, right? And they discuss putting this Bible into print, and it was the first Bible of its kind in which the marginal notes are going to have theological content.
So a built-in study
of that kind. Yeah, it's a built-in study Bible, which was totally new. So if you couldn't go to seminary, hey, it's okay, just buy Schofield's Bible and believe what's within his pages.
So it sounds like you're suggesting that he was himself, knowingly or not, kind of an op.
I think he was a patsy. Yeah, I think that the Zionists in the UK, the political Zionists got wind of what the Plymouth Brethren were teaching. That's Darby's bunch. And they thought, well, at the same time, you've got Theodore Herzl, who is trying to get Europe to buy into the Zionist project.
Okay.
And this eschatology is growing over here, which could be helpful to their cause.
Check it out.
And yeah, they disseminated the Bible, the Schofield's Bible, I think, for clearly political reasons.
So this came from the UK. Zionism as an idea really kind of gathered steam first in the UK, in England. Why? Any idea?
Come on, I'll tell you why.
I don't know why specifically Zionism, religious Zionism, took off in England organically. I mean, that's where the...
Yeah, I was telling you about this. I told you about Isaac's sons, the Saxtons, Isaac's sons. You got two Israels way back when you understand that Esau stole the land in 143 BC. You got two Israels. So in 1907, when the Titus and Vespasian kicked them out, they stole the land in 143 BC. Israel on the west coast of Africa, the true Israel. Then when they was kicked out and they went to Spain and Portugal, a lot of them migrated. Mass number of them migrated to the British Isles. And so you want to do your research on that. That's when the Saxton invasion of Great Britain, the Edomites, the other Israel, the fake Israel. And then you understand how Britain was in control of the land in 1912 or 1900s, when beginning of the 1900s, and they was able to hoodwink the land from the Arabs and then end up bringing Israel back there in 1948. Because the Edomites, they infested over there in Great Britain and in America. Okay.
Plymouth Brethren moved to, so that would make sense. But I would point out that the same institution that printed the Schofield Bible is the same institution that published the Balfour Declaration.
There you go.
Within a year.
Balfour.
Yeah. So it's practically the same people. So within a year of the Balfour Declaration, you have this hey, coincidentally,
Come on.
really great new theology that helps to support, back up the political ambition of the
What
Zionists.
they've been doing right now.
I had no idea. That's amazing.
I see that.
So then it comes to the United States where it really takes root. And that's about when? This is pre-First World War that this hits the U.S.?
Yeah, so it would have been, what was it, 1907, I think, Schofield was published. And so, yeah, it came to the United States very quickly. And it just grew like wildfire because you've got Baptists, Methodists, Congregationalists.
1912 was the Balfour Agreement. 1907 when they did it with Schofield. Like I see.
You have the Azusa Street Revival, which is just starting to kick off charismaticism. So anybody in that, in those circles, they're probably not going to a seminary. They're not mainstream Protestant that would have had the brick and mortar seminaries. You know, your Presbyterians, your Episcopalians, and so forth. And so, you know, good for them. They got to avoid most of the dispensationalism problem for quite a long time. But now today, they're ate up with dispensationalism, but it's really not theological for the mainstream Protestants. It's just, it's soaked in through culture, through various channels, but it didn't come through their seminaries and Bible colleges. As a matter of fact, Presbyterians, for example, they are the arch covenant theologians. Their doctrine should be hostile to dispensationalism, but you'll still find a lot of Presbyterians who will tell you that Jews are God's chosen people just because they, at this point, were receiving this through osmosis as Christians. It's everywhere. As Christians, you're supposed to support Israel. With Carrie Prejean Bowler, if I'm pronouncing her name right, I think that she shocked a lot of people when at the Religious Liberty Council meeting, she had said, as a Catholic, we don't support Israel, or we're not Zionists. And that shocked a lot of people, as though she's making that up. And they don't realize that the vast majority of Christendom has a confession of faith for their specific church that does not allow for the belief that the Jews are the chosen people of God. And so most people these days aren't that aware of what their own doctrine is.
That's right.
You know, so there's a sort of a doctrinal downgrade, so to speak. That's what Spurgeon would have called it. Theological dumbing down, where Christians don't know what their own beliefs are supposed to be.
Cost of living is already making it hard to live here. And
what you got? Get anything out of that?
Right. Yes, sir. Brother Leonard, that guy, I know he didn't do exactly the same things, but he kind of remind me of Francis Bacon, the guy Darby. They.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's like I was saying, when you understand who the suffering servant is, right?
Okay.
It's a race of men, right?
Mm-hmm.
The harlot is a race of men. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just, you see, when the Most High look down and see Jacob, you see 12 sons, right?
Exactly, yes, sir.
But when you look down and see Esau, he got 12 sons. Huh?
Exactly.
Come on. Sir. Yeah. So it's a lineage. It comes teen in that lineage. Way back when he at the Council of Series, then come on down to King James, all these people, they're in the same lineage. These the same people. Okay? And that's all?
Right.
Okay, yeah, so with that being said, yeah, so like I said, the Schofield Bible ain't nothing short of with the shit they did at the Council of Seal. And like the dude said, you're dealing with people that limited knowledge. And so they did what they did was they built a seminary into the book. Rather than you going to seminary with all these, you know, these like you said, low church, low people that's not really you know, they ain't too apt when it comes to that type of stuff. Like I say, so what they gave them, that's what they absorbed. And that's how you get from what they did with Schofield, brought on Christian Zionism. Edomites behind, just like leading the herd of sheep to the slaughter. And that's what they're doing right now today with the New Testament. Like I said, everything written in red, they're leading the sheep to slaughter. As long as you reading that bullshit, you're going straight to the slaughter. Okay? Is that something?
Right.
Okay. So, with that being said, we play this right here. Okay. Like I said, I ain't trying to win no Nobel Peace Prize. Okay. You know, man. Messed up. Okay. You know what I mean? I lost my video, man. Look. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to like on like I said, Africa and the names of a lot of countries in Africa before colonization. You get it. Okay. Amen. Okay, here we go.
What if I told you that almost every name on the African map is a lie? Not a conspiracy, a fact. Before 1884, before the Berlin Conference, before Europe carved the continent up like a birthday cake, Africa had names, real names, names that meant something. Not Nigeria, not Zimbabwe, not Senegal. Today we're going back, before the borders, before the scramble. This is what Africa was actually called. In 1884, 14 European nations sat down in Berlin and decided they...
So you say, what are you talking about? Well, before these clowns came on the scene and got a hold of our record, the angels had names. And the names meant something. Okay?
Owned Africa. They drew lines through deserts, rivers, and kingdoms that had existed for 1,000 years. But those kingdoms didn't just have borders. They had names. Names tied to languages, ancestors, and gods. When the colonizers left, mostly in the 1960s, they took the land, the resources, and in many cases, the names themselves. So let's rebuild the map, region by region, kingdom by kingdom, name by name. Let's start where the Sahara meets the savannah. What we now call Ghana was never Ghana to the people who built it. The ancient empire that rose there around 300 CE was called Ouagadougou. Sometimes spelled Ouagadougou, the name means land of herds or or Kingdom of the Bow, depending on the source. The modern country of Ghana was actually named after the empire, not the other way around. Just south and west, the Mali Empire, founded by Sundiata Keita in 1235, was known in Mandinka oral tradition as Mandan Krufaba, meaning the Great Land of Mandan, the Federation of the 12 Kingdoms. Now, Arab chroniclers like Ibn Khaldun usually just called it Mali, but Mandan Kurufaba is the name preserved by griots and oral historians, and it represents the political alliance that built the richest empire the medieval world had ever.
Who do you think the 12 kingdoms is?
Tribes.
Okay.
Seen. North of Mali, in what is now Niger, the Songhai Empire rose from the cities of Gao and Timbuktu. Meanwhile, the Hausa city-states, Kano, Katsina, Zaria, flourished as independent commercial hubs. Now Nigeria. Before it was Nigeria, this region was a universe of civilizations. The Benin Kingdom, ruled by the Oba, was a wonder of urban planning. The Oyo Empire dominated Yoruba land with its fearsome cavalry. The Bornu Empire controlled the trans-Saharan trade. The NRE Kingdom of the Igbo people was a sacred theocracy. And the Sokoto Caliphate, founded by Usman Dan Fodio in 1804, was one of the largest states in African history. None of them called their land Nigeria. That name comes from the Niger River, a name whose origin is uncertain, possibly from the Latin word for black, or from the Tuareg phrase Egero and Egerewen, meaning river of rivers. The local people had their own names for it. Jeliba in Manding, Isaber in Songhai, Kwara in Hausa, and Oya in Yoruba. Further west, what is now Benin, was the Dahomey Kingdom, founded by the Fon people, famous for its all-female military regiments. Togo was a patchwork of Yu chiefdoms and Dahomey influence. Burkina Faso, that was the land of the Mosi kingdoms, powerful states like Yatenga and Ouagadougou that resisted both the Mali Empire and later the French. In the Senegambia region, the Jolof Empire once ruled over Wolof and Sera peoples. The Kabu Empire stretched into what is now Guinea-Bissau. And here's a name origin that needs correcting. Senegal. A popular story says it comes from the Wolof phrase Sunugal, meaning our canoe. It's a beautiful theory, first proposed in 1850. But most historians now believe the name actually comes from the Portuguese term Azenague, a reference to the Zeniga Berber people who lived north of the river. Moving into the heart of the continent, the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Congo were the core of the Congo Kingdom, called Congo d'Antotila in Kikongo. It was a highly centralized Christian kingdom that exchanged ambassadors with the Vatican and Portugal. To the east, the Luba Empire and Lunda Empire built vast networks of sacred kingship. The Kuba Kingdom, in modern DRC, was so artistically advanced that European modernists like Picasso later drew from its visual language. Angola gets its name from Angola. The title of the Kings of Ndongo, a powerful kingdom that resisted Portuguese invasion for centuries. Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba is still legendary. On the Swahili coast, civilization looked east to the Indian Ocean. Kilwa, Mombasa, Zanzibar, Sofala. These were city-states that traded gold, ivory, and spices with Arabia, India, and China for over 1,000 years. Inland Uganda was the domain of Bunyoro Kitara, once a massive empire that fragmented into the kingdoms of Buganda, Toro, Ankole, and Busoga. Rwanda and Burundi were each powerful kingdoms with their own royal dynasties. The Nginya line in Rwanda and the Ganwa in Burundi. And then there's Ethiopia, never colonized. Its ancient name was Aksum, a civilization that rivaled Rome. Its people called it Abyssinia, from the word Habasha. And before all of that, the ancient Egyptians called their own land Kemet, the Black Land. In Sudan, the kingdom of Kush, with its capitals at Napata and Meroe, ruled Egypt itself as the 25th dynasty. Later came the Funj Sultanate of Sennar and the Darfur Sultanate, Egypt, Kemet. The name literally described the black soil of the Nile. Later, the Arabs called it Misr, a name that still survives. North of the Sahara, Tunisia was Carthage, the Phoenician empire that nearly destroyed Rome. Arab geographers called the region Ifriqiya, and some scholars believe that is where the name Africa itself comes from. Algeria was Numidia, land of the Berber horsemen who fought Rome. Morocco was Mauritania, and later the seat of the Almoravid, Almohad, and Alawite dynasties that shaped medieval Spain and West Africa. Lo, who never even visited the island, seems to have confused it with Mogadishu in his writings. The Malagasy people have always called it Madagascar. So how did we get from all of that to this? In 1884, the Berlin Conference didn't just divide territory, it renamed it. Cameroon, named by Portuguese explorers who saw prawns in the Wari River and called it Rio dos Camarões, River of Prawns. Sierra Leone, Portuguese sailors saw mountains in a storm and called them Serra Leoa, Lion Mountains. Guinea, possibly from a Berber word for land of the blacks. Ivory Coast, French colonial branding for a coastline that exported elephant tusks. Gold Coast, British branding for a coastline that exported gold. Slave Coast, the most honest and most horrifying name of all. Zimbabwe was called Southern Rhodesia, named after Cecil Rhodes, the British imperialist whose company literally owned the country like a private farm. Zimbabwe only reclaimed its real name in 1980. Namibia was Southwest Africa, a German colony, then a South African mandate. Even Kenya comes from Kirinyaga, the Kikuyu name for Mount Kenya, which the British couldn't pronounce. Names are not just labels, they are maps to memory. When we say Ouagadougou instead of Ghana, we remember an empire that traded gold across the Sahara before Europe knew West Africa existed. When we say Kemet, we remember that one of the world's greatest civilizations was African, built by Africans.
What you think?
Shalom, right? Yes, sir. I've read some of the stuff he was saying in a few different books, especially what he said about that ruling over them the 12 kings or what have you. And yeah, so yes, sir. It seemed like they was still tribed up at that point.
Oh yeah, exactly. Is that something?
Right.
Okay. So with that being said, we'll pick a scripture, we'll break that scripture down, and then same in the process we'll open up for Q&A. Anybody have any questions or comments in dialogue? Okay.
Right. Shalom, yes, sir. And Berliner, I'm gonna read this verse from the Psalms I read because I wanted to get you see what you had to say again on it. And this is Psalms 144 and verse 10, and it says, "It is He that giveth salvation unto kings, who delivereth David his servant from the hurtful sword." And shalom now, Psalms 144 verse 10.
Right, so it's Michael. David is his anointed, and Michael is the one, he's over salvation.
Right, yes, sir.
Right.
So they not talking about JC. You call David by name. David.
Right, exactly.
Sure.
They want we can see what they did. Like I said, we can see what they done at the Council of Nicaea. We can see what Sir Francis Bacon did with the King James, and what this guy Schofield. We can see what they did. It ain't a secret no more. Okay.
Right.
Good. You did something?
Sure. And then Berliner again, like with those people, like a Schofield, like a Francis Bacon, like a Josephus, and them having that skill, but also them having like the Hebrew knowledge. You know, can you kind of speak about them? That like them being close to, because coming from Esau knowing some of the same stuff Jacob knew.
Right.
Is Okay. Is that kind of why they have some of those gifts or talent? Or
Well,
ability. Is a better
well,
word.
it go back. I talked about it a little bit before, but you got just two sources. You got heaven. We see the angels coming down to with Adam's descendants. That eventually became Israelites, Jacob's children. They dealing with these angels, right? These righteous angels.
Right. Okay.
Okay, we know the 200 angels came down, and then they slept with women. They got the Nephilim, and the Nephilim, when the Nephilim died, that wicked spirit that came from the Nephilim is roaming the earth. So that's just like when Joseph went and saw the Lord from the Pharaoh dream. They go and they do the witchcraft and seek their knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So you say, what are you talking about? When the Pharaoh, before he found out from the butler and the baker that who Joseph was, he went to all those sorcerers, all those men in his kingdom that they was dealing with witchcraft, right? Hello?
Shalom, yes, sir.
Yeah, he went to them. And when you look at that, go to one kingdom after the next one. That's what they did. They had all these people that dealt with witchcraft and sorcery and necromancy in their kingdom. That was a source of maintaining their kingdom. They was dealing with them type of people. Just so happened Yahweh brought Joseph into the land of Egypt for that very purpose,
Mm-hmm.
to show them that the power you dealing with, it ain't got nothing to do with it. It's a low grade compared to the power he got. And we saw that from when the serpents, snakes, when he brought the snake, made the snakes come, brought them on the scene. Moses serpent ate both of theirs up, swallowed. But that's what these people doing. It ain't that knowledge ain't never went nowhere. They still doing it today. That's what's like I said. So fancy bacon, our so-called founding fathers, all of them, they dealing with witchcraft, man. And that information, that knowledge that came from the fallen angels.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Right. And want you to think it's coming from heaven.
Right. And that's how they making it seem like you were showing us the other day. What was it, Brother Leonard? The dude, he said he was petitioning to heaven.
Yeah, the count the Sanhedrin over in Jerusalem.
Sanhedrin, right, sir. In the Sanhedrin again, Brother Leonard, that was that's like their council or something like that.
Yeah, it's a cut. It's a cut off of what we deal with today with democracy, with the councils, with the Senate and the
in the house and all that.
yeah, the Congress. It's the same thing when you go back to Rome. When you go to watch those movies about Rome, it's the same system.
Okay, right.
It's the same system that concocted the Council of Nicaea. It had nothing to do with heaven. Most High said that when he kicked the Israelites out, once the prophecy was sent forth and it came to pass, he says heaven above is like iron, and the earth beneath is like brass. So we ain't, as his people, we ain't getting nothing from heaven, and the land ain't getting us shit. That's where we at, and that's why we call all the hell we call, because he closed us off from his creation when these people took over.
And it's been like that for these 3 days or 2 days, Brother Leonard.
Exactly. When he kicked us out, let me read it. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let me read this right here. I'll read this, but a lot of people don't get it. And the thing about it was, it ain't like they was like they ain't know. He had already prophesied to him what was going to happen. He told him that. Daniel told him what was going to happen. So, I mean, First Maccabees. Okay, let me get it. Okay. 1 minute. First Maccabees. Okay. 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 So it says, yeah, here you go. So this is Antioch Epiphanes. This is what Gabriel was telling Daniel. The prince that shall come shall destroy the city is Antioch Epiphanes. Okay. And after subduing Egypt in the 134th year, Antiochus turned back, came up against Israel. This is the prophecy being fulfilled. Entered into Jerusalem with a strong force, and in his arrogance, he went into the sanctuary, took the gold altar, right, and the lampstand for light, and all the furniture, the table of presentation bread, and the cups, and the bowls, and the gold censers, and the curtains of the crowns, and the gold ornamentation on the front of the temple, for he stripped it all off. Yahweh through with him. And he took the silver and the gold, the choice dishes, and he took the secret treasures which he found. He took them all and went back to his country. He massacred, here you go, people, spake with great arrogance, and there was great mourning everywhere throughout Israel. Rulers and elders groaned, girls and young men fainted away. The beauty of the women was altered. Every bridegroom began to lament, and she that sat in the bridal chamber grieved. The very earth was shaken. Read that again. The very earth was shaken over its inhabitants, and the whole house of Jacob was covered with shame. That was it right there. That's the sky above is like iron, and the earth beneath is like brass. From that day right there to right now. Well, we can see us coming out of it now, but from then and now, that's what our predicament was. That's what Gabriel told Daniel. And Israel, let me read it. Because I'm treading on new territory for a lot of these Negroes. Okay, so in the book of Daniel, and what you have to understand is these ain't no thousands of years apart with these prophecies. They want you to think it is. Okay, let me get Daniel right quick. Okay, here you go. So he showed, let me find it right quick. Chapter 7, I'm thinking it is maybe 8. Yeah, here you go. So Daniel had a vision of let me see. Yeah, chapter 8, verse 15. And it came to pass when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision, sought for the meaning, and behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. So this angel, like I said, when he tell you that Israel, the iron sky, the heaven is gonna be like iron, that's what he talking about. They ain't gonna be seeing no more men. They ain't gonna be dealing with no more angels. That's where we at. Okay. He says, and it came to pass when I, Daniel, even I, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man, this Gabriel. And he heard a man's voice between the banks of the Uriah was called and said to Gabriel, this is Michael talking to Gabriel, commanding Gabriel, make this man who to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and he fell upon and I fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for the time, here you go, the time of the end shall be the vision. So he's talking about what I just read in First Maccabees. That's what he just showed him. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and he set me upright, and he said, behold, here you go, I will make thee know what shall be the last end of indignation. See that? For the time appointed, the end shall be. That's end of Israel. That's what I just read. When Antiochus Epiphanes came, destroy the temple. Then he says, the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of the Medes and Persians, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn which is between his eyes is the first king, Alexander. Now, that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, the kingdom shall stand up out of that nation, but not in his own power. So four Alexander's generals, four generals came out, and we know Ptolemy took Egypt. In the latter times, in the Greek kingdom, in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors came to a full, a king of fierce countenance, understanding dark sentences, like I said, dealing with these soothsayers and all them, understanding dark sentences stood up. That's Antiochus Epiphanes. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, he shall prosper, practice, and he shall destroy the mighty people and holy people. That's what I just read. This is what Gabriel told Daniel, and all we doing is coming. When you read it, it's just coming to pass. Right here, he got the vision and an interpretation, but they never show you in the King James where it came to pass. They don't want you because it'll kill JC. When you go to First Maccabees, he's gonna show you when it came to pass. And it canceled Revelation. Okay, that making sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
Shalom. Yes, sir, brother. And that makes sense because when if you're just talking about reading the Bible in like chronological order, and you look at the story of the four beasts, that's what's missing is the third one. So, then you start, go in between the testaments, then you start off in Mark or whatever, or Matthew, and then
in the Roman Empire.
Come on. So
yeah, and when you leave Malachi, the last book of the Old Testament, you're in the second beast. So the third beast, what we need to know, ain't in there.
Ain't in there. And Brother Leonard, I think in my experience in talking to a lot of like Hebrew Israelites or Hebrew Christians, I'm seeing that's what they missing right there is I think a lot of people don't even know that the third beast ain't even in there.
Right.
Yeah, so
it's a shocker. It's a shocker. But then, like I say, that Hebrew Christian or Christian that supposedly got zeal, he gonna find a way around it. But the Israelite, somebody a true Israelite, it's a wrecking ball for him. He's gonna set him off on another course. But it's like water on a duck back to a Christian or Christian Zionist or you know what I'm saying, Hebrew Christian. Okay.
Right.
Is it something?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah. Let me play this right here. You got something else?
But I'm sorry, Brother Leonard, where it says too, what's the verse word? Not the end of a nation, not the end of a world, not the end of the world.
Yeah, he talking, Gabriel talking to Daniel, and he's talking to Daniel about the nation of Israel. And he said the nation of Israel gonna come to an end, not the world. Right. That's another key element. Nobody, when you tell them you know, it hit them broadside, but then, you know, like I say, that soul-out Christian or soul-out Hebrew Israelite, he gonna keep on going on. But he not talking about end of the world. And let me give you another example of that. That's how we know. And then back in the day, I know with me, I used to hear that and I say, wow, it didn't sound right. The spirit, one of the most I had in me, it didn't sound right. But let me read that and clean that up right quick. So it says, Daniel, let me get it. So this when he told Daniel to go his way. Chapter 12. Okay. We in chapter 12. Now he says, verse 9, and he said, go thy way, Daniel, right? For the words are closed up and sealed to the time of the end. See that? That's the end of the world. Okay. Go that way. It's sealed up to the time of the end. That's the end of the age, end of this world. The 10, many shall be purified. Right? He talking about the time right there where they at. Many shall be purified. This was when Antiochus came. Many shall be purified and made white, tried. But the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from the time that the daily sacrifice, that's the end of Israel. See that? The time of the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desert set up, that's Antiochus. There shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waited and coming to the 1,305 and 30 days. But here you go. But told Daniel, go thy way till the time of the end of the world, end of this dispensation, whatever you want to call it. For thou shalt rest. So you're making it plain. You're gonna sleep. You're gonna die. You're gonna be asleep. And stand in thy lot in the end of days. That's what he's talking about. But when he talking to Daniel, he's talking about the nation of Israel from the come to end. Because how we know that the world's still going on. We know Antioch Epiphanes came when the world ain't ended. The nation of Israel ended. Okay. That's what he told them. The Most High ended nation. He done dealt with them over 13 to 14 different captivity. They always find a reason to go back and turn away from him. So he sent Gabriel to tell him, yo, this is it. Y'all done been over there with the Moabites, you done been with the Egyptians, and you still ain't doing right. So I'm gonna cast this whole place off. Okay. You see that?
Right, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's then you say the indignation came to a full.
Right. That's it, his anger, his wrath came to a full against Israelites. That's when he brought Antiochus.
Okay.
And that's what I just read in First Maccabees. The whole house of Israel was laid low and brought to shame. He cast them off. And they went on the West Coast out.
Right.
Was that so?
Sure.
Okay. So yeah. So good. You got no other questions?
Oh, yeah, Shalom. I got Brother Leonard, the pomegranates, right? I was thinking about that when we was reading the other day, because it was one of the designs on the temple wall or what have you.
Right.
So then Sister Michelle did the health moment or what have you yesterday
Okay.
when I was listening in, and that is something that they always talk about has such high health benefits. But
Right.
I didn't think about them being tied to us though. 'Cause I used to love them as a kid.
Right.
You know, used to get that juice from my mom's wall or what have you. but yeah, it makes sense though. So those things were growing in Israel.
Right. They was coming in Israel, but like I said, all that's been taken away. And how you rightly divide that, like I said, they want you to think that they talk about wisdom as a woman and all that. The earth is the most high woman.
Right.
So his children, his people, they was in land. They was in the land that was given to them. Look what was being produced there when the Israelites went there. How big the grapes and all that was.
Yes, sir. When they
You
sent
know
the
what I'm saying?
spirit.
So that land, Zion, is our mother. Land. So it ain't producing what we need over here. It's producing it over there. That's the whole purpose he took us out the land. Because what he had set up for us, we ain't appreciate it.
Mm.
Like I said, which scholar that's a miracle. That's a miracle crop in itself. The dolly.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And pomegranate, all that stuff, the dates, all that stuff was and then he's always talking about how we produce a honeyfold.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And brother Leonard, that made me think too of like how you had just mentioned with the spies, but it made me think of the Adam and Eve when if you read it, when how they were talking about how big the figs were too.
Right, exactly right. They was in the garden of Eden. Yeah, right. And then so
Right. And now we got now we got seedless everything. All the seedless fruits. If you go to the store anyway, if you don't are going to a farm or something like that,
right,
they
exactly.
corrupted his creation.
Oh yeah, exactly right. And all they doing is they just extending uh, what the fallen angels was doing to this day. They just picked it back. They picked it back up. Like I said, it tells you that one of the boys from after the flood went to the land of Shinar and he found those writings. Those giants and those angelic angels had carved all that stuff in stone on the side of the mountain. And he wrote all of it down and it didn't tell Noah about
Right.
it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you good?
Right. Good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, check this out. I thought this is pretty interesting.
Author of AI is warning that artificial intelligence is getting smarter and that could come with some major challenges. Here's what he said. He told CNN, what's happening is these things are getting smarter. I think as they get smarter, we're going to see more and more complex intentions they have and more ability to escape control. Now, he made these comments after AI systems have escaped the sort of controlled environments that they've been operating in. These owners of the AI systems will test them out in these environments and they somehow will escape, which is pretty terrifying. And I want to bring Raj Nair in here to talk a little bit about this, because here's the thing, Raj, what he's saying here, and again, this is the godfather of AI.
So let's look at that. I was sitting there, I was checking that out. So you remember the movie Prometheus, right?
Right, yes, sir.
And then the guy that created those androids, and they were simulated like but they had white liquid in them that their blood was like a white liquid, right?
Right. Okay.
So if you got a human that the creator made with blood and all that veins and all that in them, they simulating it and making these androids, these rope, whatever they call them. We got a spirit in us, right?
Right.
So they got one in them. So you say what? So you say what's the spirit? These damn fallen angels. They looking for a body. They can operate in an android that's got simulated blood in it or liquid or whatever you want to call it in their body. So they can and obsess that they can take over their body and exist in it. Okay? And then like the man talking about they got a mind of their own. They doing what they want. Cause it ain't what you think it is. Shit. You just gave it a body. Oh.
And so that, bro, Leonard, so because people is going over people's head when Elon Musk was saying that
Right.
AI is demon technology.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Ain't that something?
that's crazy.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh goodness,
Yeah, a little more of that.
sir.
He's saying that humans won't be able to outsmart these systems eventually, that the AI will be so smart, and he used that word complex intentions. I mean, people have complex intentions, not technology usually. So what do you make of this?
I used to be a little bit more apathetic to AI, but the more that I've done a deep dive on this, the more that I've really researched and tried to figure out and listen to, forecasters, listen to people that are really deeply connected and understanding of where AI is going and how fast it's going, I have become much more scared. And I don't mean that from like a spiritual fear. I mean that from like a wow, this is accelerating at a point where I don't think anyone knows what we're doing. I think this is what is currently happening, where Anthropic is racing against OpenAI, which is racing against NVIDIA, which is racing against China, which is
So listening to that, right? There's not the same thing happening when the two other names came down. And then they killed the giants. And everything, then chaos spread across the world fast and rapid. And it was only to the point where it wasn't it was left up to heaven. Yahweh had to shut it down. He brought the flood. We think it's the same thing. Like he said, it's moving so fast and that's because it's over your pay grade. It's above human pay grade. You always got to cut it off. Is that so?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, you got anything else before we close it out?
Shalom, no sir.
Okay. So, with that being said, I want to say shalom. We got our Shabbat classes tomorrow. We got our morning Shabbat classes at 10 to 12, and then we close the Shabbat out tomorrow evening at 6. And that normally lasts about an hour and a half, unless it get hot. Okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I'll see everybody in the morning.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament in Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up, and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is, and the Godhead.